Welcome back to my YouTube channel, everybody. My guest today is intelligence investigator Franco Domma, who works with the Cook County Sheriff Department in the city of Chicago. He is an expert about intelligence about street gangs. Therefore, today, this interview will be about gangs in Chicago. Thanks for your time, Franco. Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Would you like to introduce yourself and say something more complete and something more precise about your background than what I said?
Like I said, my name is Franco Domma. I started with the county. I've been doing this for 25 years. I had an opportunity working inside a correctional facility to start an intel unit. And the goal was for me was working together with law enforcement, how information within a correctional facility would benefit outside agencies in solving crime. I didn't think it was going to get this big. It got big just from inside the jail. It's like a little city, 15,000 inmates, 300-400 interviews a year. There's a lot of intelligence inside my brain.
Okay, and
how can
you're also very well known for being featured in a couple of TV shows, such as The Squeeze or Cook County Jail a few years back. But so you're a big figure in the United States. Just to start, how gangs got to what they are now in Chicago in recent years? What happened?
Well, it was years ago when gangs first started out in the city of Chicagoland area. They were just mostly neighborhood gangs. I mean, taking care of the neighborhoods, right? Neighborhood traditional gangs taking care of the neighborhoods. And then as time goes on, legal narcotics started coming into the neighborhoods, and it then becomes territorials. It starts becoming territorials, and then the violence started to kick up. And once the violence kicks up, then you get incidents after incidents. And then you started making these gangs bigger and bigger.
Well, gangs are mainly Latino and African American. What are the biggest differences between these two main groups, I would say?
For me, there's no difference. I think that Hispanics, Latino gangs, more organized. African American gangs are in disarray. That's why in certain areas of towns or cities, they have gangs will do graffiti. You know what I mean? And in certain areas, Latinos will do the graffiti. African Americans don't do that. So there's difference. The hardest for me is on a daily basis is the African American gangs, because there's no structure with them. The Hispanic gangs is a little more of a structure. So it's easier for the Hispanic gangs. A lot of investigations don't try to investigate the African American gangs because there's just so much confusion within them.
Okay, let's start from the very basics. How does a guy start getting involved into one specific gang? Does he have to join the gang of his family, like his brothers, or the school he goes to, or his area, or anything else?
Well, basically, you know what I mean? It's going to be hard why somebody joined a gang. In Chicagoland area, everybody joins gangs because everybody's chasing the money, correct? If you see a kid, 15-year-old kid, and you see a guy driving nice car, nice chain, nice, you know what I mean, attire, clothing attire with the fancy girls, they like that. They like that lifestyle. And then that's how they like that, joining that gang. I want to be like him. And then once they commit an offense, and there's never a second chance for these kids, you know what I mean? So then I can't get a job, I can't go to school, so I might as well join a gang, you know what I mean? And then join the gangs. And it's all about that money in the city of Chicago. That's all they chase, the gang. When they talk about gangs, I don't think gangs no more. I don't think of the gangs. I don't do gangs no more. There's just so many different fashions. For me, it's intelligence. For me, it's identifying everybody within the area. So when you tell me about gangs, I don't think of the gangs because there's 800 different fashions, gangs.
Wow,
800 fashions. So when you talk about gangs, it's a narrow for me. I think big, you know what I mean? I think of geographical locations, you know what I mean? North, south, east, and west in that certain area.
I understand. We tend to think that gangs are mainly a boys thing, but I think that girls are involved as well. So how many girls are gangsters in terms of percentage, and what's their role?
There's the people, females, there's a lot of females in the gangs, but they just don't show it. You know what I mean? Females like very accessible. You know what I mean? You're in a car with a female, hold the gun. You know what I mean? It's a gang member, convicted felon, been arrested before. You hold the gun. You know what I mean? So what they usually do for a female, they let her go. There's not a lot of female officers that are out there that search them. You know what I mean? So the females are heavily involved in the gang lifestyle, but they're more settled. You know what I mean? Settled about it. They don't like to show it off too much. What I like to study on the females is the tattoos. Most of these people get the tattoos, and that's what I like to see. If the girl's in the gang, then it's an identifier for me within a gang. But they're very involved, the girls. They're just, I'm just afraid to talk to a girl because I'm worried about their safety.
Yeah.
The safety. And the thing is, for me, there's a lot of girls that I like that talk to me. And the thing is I got to worry about when they get out, who they talk to. You know what I mean? Because I'm not worried about, I got to worry about their families. You understand me? It's all about safety here. My job is to get intelligence to keep violence down, not to make it go, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand.
Escalated. I got to keep it down because I talked to Domma. Once they know they talk to me, what's she looking for? Because Domma's looking for the bigger stuff. You know what I mean?
Sure. Well, what's the role of drugs in gangs violence?
Drugs, you know what I mean? There's, to me personally, we're never going to stop drugs, right? It's never going to stop it. So to me, everybody's involved in drugs. Everybody sells drugs, right? It's not like the average traditional way where you can stand on a street corner and sell drugs on a corner. Now, most of these kids are utilizing other methods of transactional methods. You know what I mean? Phones, meeting at certain locations. Years ago, they used to stand on the corners, but since of the violence, you stand on the corner and the people come by and they'll shoot up the neighborhood. You know what I mean? So now it's changing. See how it used to be on, you sell drugs. Now it's more different methods of selling the drugs.
Well, you're very famous. I would say you're very famous because you're very well known for the deep intelligence work into streets gangs that you did. What can you tell us about it?
Well, like I said, I had an opportunity as working inside the jail. You know what I mean? Inside the criminal facility. Is when we first started, there was never a working relationship with outside agencies. So what happened is I was getting intelligence within these jails, and I was sharing it with other law enforcement agencies, and without them knowing what I knew. So we would go to meetings, and I would discuss what I've learned through the interviews, and then with that, it started building a working relationship with ATF, Chicago, other agencies. That's how you form is working together. So. You know what I mean? There's just so much information, you know what I mean, that comes out inside that correctional facility, Cook County Jail, that it just shocks me. You know what I mean? It just shocks how much information comes out of it. Working relationship. I do a lot of reading. I don't sit at home, watch the news. I read a lot. You know what I mean? I get reports sent from other from areas, and I utilize that during an interview. You know, I have to be prepared. I'm always proactive. You ever hear the word proactive?
Of course. I'm
not reactive. An incident happens, and I got to be proactive as law enforcement. You have to be ahead of the game. And there's tricks that I use that I don't want to talk about, that I have to be proactive, let these guys know that I know what's going on. Once I do that, the violence, I can stop the violence. I can minimize it. I can't stop it all, but
well, keeping it at bay is the goal.
I just don't like to talk about it because I got a lot of tricks. I don't do nothing illegal. I'm by the book.
Okay. Can you tell us something about what kind of intelligence comes from undercover investigators? What's their role?
Well, undercover investigations, it's good because the goal is to elaborate narcotics. You know what I mean? When you start getting narcotics, an undercover operation, the goal is selling drugs, and then you know what I mean. You go to the big suppliers. You know what I mean. One thing leads to another. Because the end goal is to get the main guys, cartel guys, the bigger guys that are actually distributing it into the area. During undercover work, there's not really a lot of intelligence that's coming in there after there's an arrest, there's where the intelligence comes in.
Is this intelligence work you guys are doing a joint effort between among different agencies, such as local police and federal agencies, or?
Yes, of course. We all work together. It's all working together. FBI is long term. DEA is investigation, narcotics. ATF is more weapons. You know what I'm saying? And I work a lot with a lot of detective work. Homicides is good for me. You know what I mean? I like homicide is a tool that I utilize a lot. Working hand in hand with the detectives, because my end goal is to get informants. You know what I mean? I gotta keep the jail safe too. You know what I mean? So I have to work in exchanging information. That's all it's about, in exchanging information with these agencies.
Well, in your opinion, since the situation in Chicago and I think also Baltimore is that bad, what do you think a solution would be? Or if not a solution, at least a way to make the situation better? Would it be like to increase the level of education of these people, or to have more stable families? I mean, what are your personal thoughts?
Well, I mean, education to me is kids want to go to school, right? They want to go to school, but they're afraid to go to school, correct? Because you can't go in certain areas. You go to a certain area, you might get something happen to you. You got to give these kids something to do. You know, you got to give these kids something to do, get their mind off stuff, get them involved in a lot of stuff. What I try to do for these kids is give them a second chance. I need a driver's license. I help them get a driver's license. I want a job. I help agencies get them a job. Once you start doing stuff like that, you start building up the trust with the families and the community that you care. You know what I mean? You just don't lock these kids up. I get these kids out. I go get them a job, a driver's license. I can't get to work without a driver's license. Go to Secretary of State. You know what I mean? We'll help you. And if you start doing stuff like that, it becomes more of a working relationship with the community. You know what I mean? People want to talk, but they don't know who to talk to.
Well, Franco, many thanks for your time and for your very precious explanations. I'm sure that this interview is giving my Italian viewers some insight about the serious problems that gangs in Chicago are creating. So many thanks for your time again. Many thanks for joining me. Thanks everybody for watching this. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Ciao.